Hello everyone, BellaDonna here, and today I thought I would go over the different cards or decks that I really enjoyed using during this Halloween season. So if you've got a personal reading from me or you've been following me on Instagram, you've probably seen these decks already, and there's a really good chance I will continue using them for a little bit longer into November. But anyway, I thought I would just go over these decks and let you see what I've been using, what I've been enjoying. And yeah, let's go ahead and begin. So the first deck I'm going to show you is the Steampunk Tarot. I really enjoy the steampunk theme just in general. I enjoy this particular time period. I don't know if you'd call it a time period. But that kind of mixture of old fashion and new, the mechanic along with the Victorian era, I really enjoy this sort of fashion. I don't know what you want to call it, but at any rate. So this deck, I bought this. I think this was my first non-Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And so I really do enjoy this particular artwork. It is Rider-Waite-Smith mimic or copy, so it kind of follows along that line. So if you've learned how to read the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, this will come fairly natural for you. The nice thing about it, though, is that some of the imagery and the themes are changed just a little bit, giving it a different imagery for you to feed off of, especially if you read intuitively. And I do have a tendency to read intuitively. I know what the keywords are, I know what some of the symbology is, and the astrological markings and within the Rider-Waite-Smith stand for, but I predominantly wait for voice of spirit to guide me, and I do read intuitively. So I really like it when the imagery gives way to that, and this certainly does give way to that with a different sort of artwork. So that is the Steampunk Tarot. I've been really enjoying that in general. I've been enjoying it for years. The other deck that I use, and this is actually a deck that I use quite often all year round for myself as well as for readings, and this is the Antique Anatomy Tarot by Claire Goodchild. This is the most recent one. I think this is the one most people are familiar with. And it is from, I got this off of Amazon, and I do enjoy this sort of artwork. Again, I really like this for ancestor work. I like this for shadow work. I like this for just diving a little bit deeper into just personal concepts and what have you. So it's not everybody's palette. I get that. Not everybody likes this. So I don't always use this for other people's readings unless I get a really good sense that this is something that they're going to enjoy or they're going to get something out of as far as the imagery is concerned. But I do, like I said, I'll use this for myself throughout the year. I do shadow work throughout the year. I'll do this to do goddess work sometimes, depending on who I'm working with and what I'm trying to get out of that particular work. So yeah, this actually stays out quite often throughout the entire year for me. But again, I've been using this throughout this particular season. It does kind of increase in usage this time of year. Another deck that I've been using and bringing out this time of year, usually every year around this time of year, is the Darkness of Light Tarot. And apparently I have some cards backwards here. And this is by Tony DeMoro. This is actually an independent deck. I got this a couple years ago. I do believe there's another edition out, so if you do feel like you like the imagery, I think that he has put out another edition of this particular deck. But again, it's the color palette that draws me to it, especially this time of year. The imagery, it's the color palette mostly, but I like the artwork. And I remember following him when he was creating this deck, and he was painting it and posting the paintings on Instagram, and that I fell in love with it, and I felt like I had created a connection with this particular deck before it had even come out. It was sort of a bonus that he's actually from the same state that I live in the United States. So that was kind of exciting for me to be able to support a semi-local artist. at any rate. The color palette's really nice. It's sort of muted tones. Every once in a while you do get a little bit of red. You might get a little bit of green. But in general, it's a fairly simple deck. Still follows somewhat of the Rider-Waite-Smith with a little bit of a twist in some of the imagery. Like obviously the 5 of Coins usually has a woman and a smaller boy in it. And this one is a dog that's walking towards a building that could be or could not be considered a church, depending. But it still follows close enough again. So if you do know the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery, this would be recognizable and fairly easy for you to read from. Again, I do like to bring this out. Again, I think it's the color palette that really draws me to this deck at this time of year. The Lily Black is a deck that I actually just got this year. And this is by Celia Mellis. I think it's Mellisville. I think is her last name. I apologize if I really ruined the pronunciation of that name, but this is a deck that I had followed also when it was being created. But at the time, I was kind of going through some things that had me stepping away from tarot a little bit, and I just didn't want to spend the money at that time period, mostly because I knew I was not going to dive in with it. And if I'm not going to dive in with the deck when I get it, I don't like to get it. But this particular year, at the beginning of the year, I was actually able to get this and a couple other of her decks. I love her artwork. So I just absolutely enjoy this deck and most of her decks. But this particular one, again, it's the color palette. Just makes me want to bring it out this time of year. I really enjoy working with decks that have a darker color palette or a darker theme whenever I'm entering this time or this season. I call it the Season of Night. And this really fits that particular category. Again, this is an independent deck. So slightly more expensive than if you're able to get something off of Amazon. But I really do enjoy the imagery. I enjoy the color palette, the way she brings the colors together. I like her interpretation of some of the cards, some of the imagery, and how it fits. It's just a good fit for me. Same artist, kind of a different turn, actually. This one is not as dark, but it's fun, and that's one of the reasons why I got this particular deck, and this is the Boo Tarot. It's the back of them. This is just bright. It's colorful. I feel like if some of the shadow work is going to include some sort of self-love or inner child work, this deck fits that category really nice. It can kind of hit those tones in a whimsical way, kind of allowing you to see it from an angle that has a little bit more light in it than the dark and in the darker palette. So I just wanted this deck because it was so whimsical. Again, this is from the same artist as the Lily Black, which is, her name is Celia Mellisville, or however you pronounce her name. But I just really enjoy how whimsical and fun this is, because I feel like, you know, this time of year is not supposed to always be all about the dark and the shadow work. There is definitely some light and joy, and if there isn't light, you should be bringing in the light. You figure it is the season of night, and so it is the time that we do light our own lights. We light the candles, and we, you know, turn on the light switch to light the house more. It calls for us to become more active in creating light in our life, and I feel like that fits that kind of category. But the imagery is just fun. Again, it's just another Rider-Waite-Smith bent, but just her own interpretation of some of the same themes. I just love that Wheel of Fortune. How adorable is that? The cycle must go on. But yeah, that is the Boo Tarot. Returning to the dark theme as far as the decks are concerned. And this is the Vampire Tarot. That's the back of them. This is a mass-produced deck, so you can pick this up off of Amazon if that is something you're interested in. Now, I'm not really one to gravitate towards the imagery of vampire. It's not really something that, it's not a theme that I enjoy. It's not a theme that I participated in when I was growing up. I really didn't care too much one way or the other, especially when it was trending or there was a crave for it. It just really wasn't something that I was interested in. Aside from the concept of the passion that you usually see depicted as far as vampires are concerned. But I don't remember what made me feel compelled to buy this deck. But I'm glad that I did. I feel like there's definitely that passion, that wild, feral side is depicted as a theme in every single, well, I shouldn't say every single, but a good bit of the deck, of the cards. And then tapping into that concept of the blood being the life force, which, you know, it's one of those things that we know and we understand if you're really on a spiritual path. But this really kind of brings that concept of blood and the importance of it as a life force, as a source of life. It's kind of enhanced in the imagery with this, and that connection with ancestor. I don't read with this very often. I don't feel compelled to read with it very often, but every once in a while I do feel that draw to work with this deck. And so there's that passion I was talking about. So I will pull this out. This is definitely a deck. This is the only time of year that I'll pull this out, is around Halloween. Once Halloween, Samhain is over, it goes back onto the shelf. I just do not feel compelled to pull from this deck any other time of the year. At least that's how it stands right now. Well, those were all the tarot decks that I feel compelled to use. I have 2 oracle decks that I use. The first one is the Halloween Oracle by Stacey DeMarco. And I resisted this deck for a long time too. So I know traditionally a lot of people absolutely love this time of year when you start on this path. This time of year, the whole fall Halloween theme is your theme. It's your bag. It's your jam, however you want to say that. It was not mine. I don't mind fall. I do enjoy fall, actually. I love when the leaves change. I love the visual effect of that. I love nature during this transition. I love the smells and the sights and how it really kind of hits all the senses. But fall to the degree of Halloween, like most people from my generation love, and most people within the spiritual community have a tendency to really enjoy. I didn't really connect with it to that degree. My season is Yule. My preference is Yule. I love Yule, but that does not mean I do not honor and enjoy this transitional time that we see in the fall period. But as a result of that, I didn't feel as inclined to get this deck. It took a while. And then when I finally committed and I bought this deck, I was actually quite surprised at how deep these oracle readings would take me. Whether I took it as a 1-card pull, a 3-card pull, or if I just took it as a means of a theme for a reading or a summary of a reading, this just spoke in volumes in ways that the tarot sometimes needed assistance or gave a boost to the tarot reading or whatever the case may be. At any rate, it is a beautiful deck. It always gives very beautiful readings, and they're always deep, but there's a kind of kindness to the depth. Even with themes like zombie or werewolf, there's a sort of kindness to the message, which I've always appreciated as far as this particular deck is concerned, as far as Halloween themes are concerned. And then the last oracle that I have used is the Witch's Wisdom Tarot by Barbara Milk John Free and Flavia Kate Peters. And I've had this for a couple of years. I can't remember. I think I saw someone else use it several years ago, and I went promptly online to research to see if I could find it. But it's just very, probably Wicca more than witch itself based, but you get the sense of witch, Wicca. Color palette's beautiful, covers all the Sabbats, and it covers multiple themes as far as witch or Wicca is considered, potentially even pagan, depending, but that whole concept of the craft, it covers all of those themes. And it's just been kind of fun to use this. Again, I actually pull this out most of the time around this time of the year, but I will occasionally pull it out at other times. I feel like probably whenever I feel like I need to connect with a witch theme or a cult theme within a reading, that's when I'll feel compelled to pull this out. I don't remember what decks I'll use this with. This is a deck I definitely use in conjunction with a tarot reading. So it's usually a card that I'll pull as a theme, or a card that I'll pull as a summary of a reading, or the elements within a reading with a tarot deck. So it's not often that I'll do this as a standalone for another person's reading. I will do it as a standalone for myself occasionally, but usually if I'm pulling this within a reading, it is in conjunction with. It's a way to boost or assist or add to a tarot reading message. But as you can see, it's all very kind of witch pagan bent, and it's just a nice addition, not just at this time of the year, but any time of the year. All right, that is all I'm going to show you. I have other dark themed decks that I use periodically, both at this time of year as well as any time of year. But these are the ones that I've used the most this particular month, this particular season. I'll probably continue to use some of these as we move into November before I'll start transitioning to more Yule seasoned decks. But if you've gotten a reading from me, a personal reading from me, or if you have received or follow me on Instagram, or follow the YouTube channel and received or seen the videos that I do here, then you'll have seen these decks already. You'll notice that I do indeed read these, but at any rate, these are the decks that I'm using or have been using this particular dark season. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do like it, please make sure that you like and subscribe. And if you would like a personal reading, go ahead and check out the link box below, because I will have a link towards my website for you to order your own reading for yourself. All right, that's all I have for you. I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day, and we'll see you in a future video.